saying Goth's name, it's like 18 degrees outside. I'm all in black. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. At what point did I think this was a good idea? Okay, so the first Tenor, it's one of those videos, yeah, it had to be said. By the way, I don't enjoy doing those type of videos because of the after effects. It leaves me feeling, yes, it needed to be said. Yes, kind of, I am proud of it, but I'm not. It's one of those videos, and it was sour, and it was, you know, it needed to be said. I said it, didn't enjoy saying it, it's out there, bang bang bosh kind of thing. Okay, let's dive into the Q&A sesh. About a month ago, yeah, it would have been a month ago, I jumped on my YouTube, asked you guys, look, we've reached 3K, let's do a Q&A. You know, if you've got a question for me, pop it through my social medias and I'll totally answer it. And you guys were not shy in coming forward. And then my disability. I have spoken about my disability, but I honestly can't remember whether I've put it out there in the public domain, the unabridged version, or just touched upon it here and there. So yeah, yeah, I do not. That's a new one on me, but I will totally go with forth and find out more about that singer. Sounds interesting, and thank you for your question. Oh God, totally. Yes, I'm so for my gothic music scene. That kind of tipped my world upside down when, you know, I first got into goth, which was mid-teens, you know, and I gravitated towards the gothic scene, and that in turn led to EBM. I was aware of metal. It never presented itself in my life for whatever reason. I didn't go and seek it. It never came and found me. You know, that kind of thing. That's not to say I've got a problem with it. I friggin' love metal. If I answer the easiest one first, okay, and that would be band, okay? And I'm going for this band because their musical brilliance has infected me throughout my musical journey, even before I realised I wanted to be a singer. They infected me as a teenager with their music, writing, arrangements. I just fell for this band like a ton of bricks. And don't forget, I was a teenager of the 90s, okay? This band was not cool, okay? My friends were into bands such as Boyzone, the Spice Girls, Five, and there was I kind of obsessing over this band. This band was Queen. I can't tell you how much my love for Queen the depth it goes to, it's rooted in everything I seem to do as a musician myself. And that's only a recent realization. And of course, Freddie Mercury. Every musician needs an inspiration. You know, he was one half of my inspiration without me even realizing. And I go back to this thing I said about, you know, music chooses you. I didn't realize for a long time Freddie Mercury, for me, and anyway, was so much more than a singer. You know, he possessed the finest qualities that you would seek in a human. He was humble. He was generous. He was all these fine elements that you would expect from a fine human. And the way the British press, you know, while he was dying, which I thought was douchey, but we're talking about the press here, and then after, stirring that pot, the man is dead and you're still... That's low. Okay, so as I said at the beginning of this video, I can't remember whether I've told this warts and all kind of thing or just kind of hinted at it. And so my disability, in actual fact, oh! 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 Right. I'm nearly killed by studio lighting, and I laugh. I don't know. So up until 9 years old, I had a pretty okay childhood. It wasn't bad. If there was a crowd, I would entertain. That's the kind of child I was. You know, and this will make perfect sense. The reason why I'm saying I was the life and soul of my parents' friends, this will make sense later on. So I would do funny voices, you know, hence later on I found, you know, the switch into acting and voice acting and impressions very easy because I had that as a child. I didn't need to learn that, and in turn that led into singing, you know, in connecting the dots. So I don't think I'll ever forget this day, actually. It was a school day and I had this particular, what I thought was a headache. So my mum gave me a junior aspirin, sent me on my way to school, and this headache never left me. Okay, all throughout my school day I had this headache. Okay, there is a reason why I've put that in kind of so and it gradually got bigger. It got so bad that at one point it was affecting my eyesight. what me and my brother would usually do is get out of our school uniforms, go out in the back garden and play. And then it happened. Like that. It was like someone switching a light switch off in my head, my brain. The pain, guys, and I can still, you know, during my migraine, because I suffer from acute migraines, when I have these acute migraines, even now, which, you know, on a good month, I will get one. On a very bad month, I will get a cluster. On those days, I'm still reminded of the pain. It's weird, isn't it? And this is where superhuman strength, you know, comes into play in this story. I cleared a 9-foot fence. And my mother, you know, years and years later, often retold this story. You know, here is a 9-year-old boy, you know, clearing a 9-foot fence, a neighbour's 9-foot fence, because I was playing in my neighbour's back garden. My friend who I was playing with went in for something, and then it happened. I knew as a 9-year-old kid, I needed to get back as quick as possible. Now, everything was shutting down at this point. You know, how I managed to clear that fence, God only knows. And at this point, you know, my speech is going. It's not gone, but it's absolutely going, and it is a race against time, because I need to tell my mother. And if I can't communicate, this is quite upsetting to recall. If I can't if I lose the power of speech, my communication, how am I going to get help? How am I going to tell my mother this is bad? From a very short space of time, from the period of me getting in the back door from the garden, so the garden door, to where my mother was in the lounge, I lost my speech. It was, and I remember this, you know, as I was travelling from the garden to the back door, from the back door to the house, you know, the lounge. Well, at this point, I remember feeling very disconnected with my body. I tried so much to, I knew what I wanted to say, but that's where it stopped. Okay guys, completely forgot to mention this during filming. So my body is shutting down. I'm losing the ability of speech. The only thing I can do is scream at the top of my lungs in front of my mother, which I successfully do before blanking out. Okay. The words just would not come out. It was like my brain was on a hamster wheel. You know, and the hamster was not there. It was trying to churn out enough before what happened. Well, at this point, I was foaming at the mouth. And the eyesight, I probably had about 5% of my eyesight. I mean, my eyes were going, they were rolling in my head. Okay, I was foaming, and then the hematoma, the blood clot, burst. It's almost like it happened to someone else. It's like recalling an incident that happened to, you know, almost a character I can't identify. It really was a race against time to save my life. So, and these guys I can never thank enough, really. I think their work is so invaluable that the Kent Air Ambulance airlifted me to Maudsley Hospital, where a team of medical professionals were waiting to remove the blood clot. So I'm being airlifted from Kent to London. Okay. In the meantime, my nan and my mother, frantic, were in a taxi en route to London. And I remember my mum recalling this in later conversations with me. She said, I was howling. Kept saying to your nan, by the time I get up there, he's gonna be dead. Because you looked so dead. And I was trying to prepare myself for that. I wake up from the coma, and do you know what? This is why my mother was so much more, you know, and it tears me up every time I have to go through this story, because something dies in me every time I tell it. This was a woman that put her life on pause. She had no life. And of course, the amount of confidence she instilled in me, because I think she said something like, you realise that, you know, your life will never be the same again. And people will be cruel. You just think about that. Okay, they will not judge you on you. And I know that sounds pretty hard and like tactless almost, oozing no sympathy, but I'm glad she did that. Almost like a cotton candy existence, you know, shielding me from how cruel and nasty people can be, you know. And she instilled, you've got to find your strength, okay, because I'm not always gonna be here. Sorry, that left a nasty taste in my mouth, sorry. and over the years, yeah, I did get a sense of how cruel some people can be, you know, and that stayed with me, you know, and I thought, it was really, really tough. And I don't want this to be Nat's pity party. I'm just telling you how it was. You know, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't, you know, everything's gonna be all right at the end of the day. Because there were times when I kept replaying conversations, you know, being called out in the street. That's as public as you can get. Being laughed at, being stared at, being pointed at, just because, no fault of my own, there's something I can't change. And that stayed with me. And I remember, I don't know how old I was, but I remember that was a turning point for me. And I remember thinking, no one is ever going to make me feel like this again. You find your own strength from wherever it comes, but you find it. When I look in the mirror, I don't see a disabled dude, you know. I just see a dude trying to get on with his life, like all of you, okay? I don't expect sympathy. I don't encourage sympathy. So leaving school, I mean, do you know what? My new school was the happiest I had ever been for a period of 4 years. Because if it weren't for school and connecting with a certain teacher, I would never, I don't think, have even considered that I could have a role in acting and singing. This story is, yeah, it has been diluted a bit, because I swear to God, if I did a story, we would be here for hours and hours, me retelling every little detail. Okay, so I've not left a lot out, but I've not gone into, you know, everything, because it would be hours and hours, and I don't think you've got enough time to I certainly haven't. And it has been asked, you know, the oh God, now I bet if you had a wish, you know, I bet you would like rewind that clock and totally be able. And I say this every time, no. And genuinely, they're shocked. They're like, what? Your life would be so much easier. Yeah, totally. It would be that easy just to fit into society. But through my disability, I learned so much about me. I learned so much about the things I could do, the things I couldn't do, and both of them being as important as one another. You know, I learned a sense of responsibility. I learned so much about myself that I would not risk that, throwing that away, because I might not have those qualities as an able-bodied Nat. Who's to say, as an able-bodied Nat, I would be a singer? I might not have anything to do with music. Who's to say, as an able-bodied Nat, I wouldn't be an actor. That's too much of a risk. And music and performing means too much to me. This will have to wait for another video because this is just as long as but I mean I might tell it next month if you guys are up for that, how I became aware of my operatic voice, counter tenor, and the world of musical theatre opened. If you guys want to hear that, I'm happy to tell it. And to have a mother that was so behind the goth thing, she did not batter an eyelid. I used to go out like this as a teenager, and and you will attract the odd stare. And but to get that sense of, if that's you, be back at 8. My mother was the greatest. She gave me so much and asked so little in return. And those are the greatest parents. I'm not a parent myself, but if I was, that's the quality I would adhere to. Thank you so much for viewing this. I'm sorry it's been a bit longer. I don't know. Do you guys like the longer video, or let me know. Let me know down below in the comment section. But I think with a story time, if you're going to do a story time justice, you can't rush details. And that's why I didn't want to do a kind of polished, story time where, it flows. And because when you tell a story, you don't always start with logical details first of all, because the mind is weird. It kind of throws the jigsaws out and places them in a weird order. Don't you find? Thank you guys, you have been awesome. Thank you so much for the continued support. I really do appreciate it, and the love you throw out to me. Not just saying it, really do appreciate it. No one prepares you for how tough YouTube is going to be. Okay, as nice as you are, you're gonna get some flack. They don't like your hair, they don't like what you're wearing, they don't like men wearing makeup. So yes, I'm slowly developing that YouTuber rhino skin. Okay, where meanie comments just like yeah, okay. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, because that really helps my channel. And I will see you guys next month. Bye.